one definition of hospitality is to make space. So, friend, could you scoot over and make space at your kitchen table to share a meal? Expand your heart to make space for a new relationship. Listen instead of talking, making space for others to be understood. This season, we'll learn from the ultimate host, Jesus Christ, and how he extended the welcome of the gospel to make space for all kinds of people. Well, welcome back, friends, to the Quenches podcast. We are talking about this whole idea of scooting over, imitating Christ hospitality. So thanks for coming back, Susan. We really appreciate it.
Oh, happy to.
Yeah. So last week we talked about being hungry. This week we're going to talk about being thirsty. And so I'm wondering, Susan, has there ever been a meal where you're like, I thought I counted out and I made enough tea, or whatever, whatever your beverage of choice is at one of your gospel parties. I'll leave that for your imagination. But anyway, you serve something like chips and salsa or whatever, and you feel like you just have to keep refilling people's glasses. You ever had one of those scenarios?
Oh man, I mean, just my pet peeve, least favorite thing to do at Sunday lunches when we had company was refill water glasses. I just was like over it because I don't drink a ton of water. Honestly, I should. But it was like, I just sat down and now on the other end of the table, their glass is empty. And I knew that it was my responsibility to fill their glass. And sometimes I just look at my husband and say, can you go get some water for people because I'm tired? I don't say it, but that's what I say with my eyes. Because, sometimes spouses can talk volumes with their eyes across the table. Especially when it's a tired woman.
The question is, can Lee Tyner read your mind?
Ooh, yeah, it depends. Oh. But he's always happy to serve. That's the thing. I just need to be very clear in my communication.
Oh, okay. Well, quick life hack here. I have the same thing where you're like, it's my job to get up and refill people's beverages. But you too can go on Amazon and get nice little water carafes and just put them on the table and the people will pass them instead of popping up. Yes. And I don't know why it took me years and years to figure that out. But I'm
writing that on a sticky note right now, Karen. That's genius.
Less than $10, you can get a pretty good water carafe, and of course you see it in restaurants where they have bottles, and just like, serve yourself. You like to pass around. It's kind of like a family thing. So anyway.
Carafe.
Carafe. Oh, good for you. How do you spell carafe? And
I got to say, if I have a carafe, I feel slightly French. I just think it's just a beautiful way to have water at your table instead of going to the faucet like I did.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is we are thirsty people. And I just, like I said, last week, I just returned from vacation. And I remember one particular day where we had walked, I think it was like 7 miles or whatever. We had walked a lot in the town we were in. And all I wanted was a 32-ounce drink. I didn't want no 8-ounce little drink. Yeah. I needed a 32-ouncer. Mm-hmm. And when you're overseas, sometimes that's not exactly what they pass to you. No. I mean, I wanted ice. Oh, yeah. I wanted demanding, but I was very, very thirsty. And so, and it's not a bad feeling to remember.
Yeah.
When you really feel like you need something to quench your thirst.
Yeah.
Because you and I are both thirsty. We get to do life with other thirsty people. Mm-hmm. And today we're going to look at a hospitality narrative where Jesus meets a very thirsty woman. And she's not your typical church lady, as Susan might say. Like, what's she doing here?
Yeah, matter of fact, don't the disciples kind of say that when they come up on the scene later? What are you doing? Like, don't you know this is like a bad look?
This is not going to be good for the PR and the marketing of Jesus.
No, This is off brand for us. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But Susan loves all the what she doing here women in the Bible.
I love them.
You do. One person coined it the bad girls of the Bible, but I like her what she doing here because, like you said, the disciples are like, what is Jesus doing? So today we're going to look at Jesus and focus on how he meets this woman's truest need. Mm-hmm. And you're probably familiar with this passage, John 4, Jesus and the woman at the well, as we often title this story. In verse 1, it says, "Now when Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus was making and baptizing more disciples than John, although Jesus himself did not baptize, but only his disciples. He left Judea and departed again for Galilee, and he had to pass through Samaria. So he came to a town of Samaria called Sychar, near a field that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there. So Jesus, wearied as he was from his journey, was sitting beside the well. It was about the 6th hour. A woman from Samaria came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink," for his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria?" For the Jews had no dealings with Samaritans. Jesus answered to her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw water with, and the well is deep. Where do you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob? He gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did his sons and the livestock." Jesus said to her, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks of this water that I will give him will never be thirsty again. The water that I give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life."
The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty or have to come here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go, call your husband and come here." The woman answered him, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You are right in saying I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you say that in Jerusalem is the place where people ought to worship." Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming and now here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." The woman said to him, "I know that Messiah is coming, he who is called Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things." And Jesus said to her, "I who speak to you am he."
And just then his disciples came back. They marveled that he was talking with a woman, but no one said, "What do you seek?" or "Why are you talking with her?" So the woman left her water jar and went away into the town and said to the people, "Come, see a man who told me all that I ever did. Can this be the Christ?" They went out of the town and were coming to him. So we talked last week about hospitality. One definition being making space. Another way to think about hospitality is the root is hospital. Okay. Yeah. So, we're making space for the weak and wounded, weary, sick and sore, as the hymn writer says. And Jesus is showing us that hospitality is not for perfect, got it all together, wrap it up and tie it a bow kind of people. It's for the "what's she doing here" kind of people, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yep. What's she doing? And so it's the hospitality gospel is for all kinds of people. And so this is the category we're looking at today. And so as we dive in here, Susan, what do you think people thirst for? What are they're parched, they're dehydrated because they're just seeking after something that will quench that thirst.
Yeah. I think there's probably a low-grade anxiety that just exists, especially in women. I mean, not that men don't, but I don't talk to a lot of men about their anxieties. I talk to a lot of women about a lot of theirs. I think also guilt. I think not quite, even if you're a believer, not quite letting go of the things that make you thirsty, as far as just past mistakes, sins, memories. You maybe became a follower of Christ later in life, so you have a whole pre-life that can kind of pop up and bring you into guilty, like dark places. I think that worldly priorities look like a cool cup of water. But I don't know if you were ever told this, but when I was growing up, it was like, if you're really thirsty, don't drink a Coke. A Coke will not quench you, but a Coke is kind of what you want to grab because it kind of tastes better than water, but it doesn't really work. And I think a lot of women look at the Poppies and the Diet Cokes and the, Coke Zeros and all the sparkling waters that are going around now. And they're like, oh, I want that. That'll make me feel better. And really, you just need some good old H2O. And because that's what's going to truly in your body take dehydration out.
Right. Yeah. Because when we just perilously look for the next, drop or hit or whatever of seeking, other people's approval or, trying to get other people's attention or whatever it is. We are perpetually dehydrated. And as someone who lives at 7,000 feet in a high desert, I feel parched the vast majority of most days. And so we have cups, plural. There are so many cups in the Hodges life. There's cups in the car. There's water in the car. We take cups to church. And then, Chris said to me the other day, can you help me get in the car? I have 3 cups, he had coffee and then he had his water. So we're always looking for, and maybe that's a good picture is we're always thinking, what if I get thirsty?
Yeah.
I'm going to need something on hand. And when we're dehydrated, spiritually speaking, we have a proclivity towards discouragement, despair, maybe, just feeling like it's never enough, that kind of like emptiness. And the woman at the well, she was thirsty, but she didn't know it.
Yeah.
Like she was functioning, doing a task. And there was actually a need underneath the need. And I love the fact that Jesus is always pursuing us.
Yeah.
And he's pursuing our truest need in our life.
Yes. Because I think a lot of things we've mentioned, anxiety, wanting people to like you, all those things, some of that underneath that is I'm not valuable. I need people to make me feel valuable. So you'll push yourself in places you don't really need to be doing that. Or you exhaust yourself trying to make people happy in your family or at work. And I just think that Jesus says, I'm your home. I'm your home base. I'm your fence. I'm the one that gives you value. I'm the one that gives you purpose. I love you. You cannot lose my love. You cannot. There's nothing you can do or have done that will make me not love you. And I think that when women don't feel that at a core level is when they go after the Cokes. They go after it's not going to help. You might have a little bit of a feeling that it helped at first, but you're still thirsty. Like that woman, she went after a lot of Coca-Cola products. I'll say that.
I'm feeling very guilty right now that I have my Diet Dr. Pepper right outside the school.
Hello, right here.
Exactly. Okay. But don't we love the pursuit of the welcome of the gospel? We see in this passage, Jesus had to go through Samaria. Why? Because he was pursuing a person. And so the disciples were like, what? This seems like a detour. Why are we doing this? This is not on the plan. This is not on the GPS coordinates. We're not supposed to go through there.
Yeah.
And the other thing that strikes me is when I am a thirsty woman, I too hide. And this woman is hiding. She is going to the well at the 6th hour, which is in the hottest part of the day. It's when nobody else is there. She is isolated. She is marginalized. Yeah. She is outside of community. She is all by herself. And that's when we're most vulnerable, really. But but Jesus is there waiting for her.
And he sends those goofy disciples away so they don't mess it up for her.
I never thought about that.
Oh, yeah. Get rid of them for a minute so I can deal with this woman in a good way.
go get food, right?
Yeah, right to the grocery.
I often think about, ministry on the margins. I mean, there are people such as ourselves, that are hungry and thirsty on the margins of our life.
Mm-hmm.
They maybe don't respond when you invite them to something the first time.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe they sit in the balcony at your church because it's dark up there and nobody can really see, where they are. Maybe they, slip in late and leave a little bit early.
Oh, yeah.
Because they just don't want to have that, engagement.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't judge this woman.
No. Oh, she's surviving. This is how a woman who is thirsty without water survives.
That's right.
And she's not well, but she is trying to survive.
Right. She's just probably one cup of water to one cup of water to one cup of water, as you're saying, or one Diet Coke to one Diet Coke to take your other analogy out. But yeah, and there are often times where we're living perpetually dehydrated in life. And it's hard for us to see those people if we're in that state.
Oh, yeah.
But, I try to walk the margins of my church on Sunday, and those are the doors that lead quickly to the parking lot. Or let's just say, like maybe on a Thursday morning when we have women's Bible study, I'll sit in the back on purpose so that I can engage with people that I know are coming in a little bit late on purpose.
Yeah.
I turn around and try to greet them, save them a seat. And so what does it look like for you, Susan, to do ministry on the margins?
My favorite margin space is when I have the honor of someone saying, hey, can you help me process something? I'm like, sure. Now, I never know what that is. It could be
a lot.
It could be a lot of things. It could be, I need to know if I should sell this rug or not, or it could be, I'm crying a lot. I'm not sure what to do with this, or I'm frozen. I can't make a decision. And you start getting into their story and you go, oh my gosh, this woman is so isolated and has no path out. Those are my favorite margins because I feel like isolation keeps women in margins. And a lot of the, I think it's untrue. I don't think a lot of church women like that there's this preconception of, or misconception of church women is to be a real church woman, you kind of have gotten to have beaten some sense. You kind of had to graduate to, I deserve to be at church now. And that does not feel accessible to new people, nor to sinners, nor to messy women, nor to women who find themselves in messy situations. They don't know how to talk about it at church. It's like you have this bucket of cold water with sonic ice in it. And yet there's a fence around it, and you got to dress up to get through the fence and know the password to get through the door. I mean, what are we doing, people? So I'm like, so when I get to see God move in a woman's life, be desperate enough to just text another woman, and when that woman gets to be me, I feel like I'm so excited. It's like, I can't explain it. It's just such a joy. And it feels like I'm like you said before, a conduit between her and Christ. And I'm just there. God is doing the back and forth, but it's just fun to witness it. It's fun to see someone like breathe and go, okay, now that I've shared this with somebody, I have hope. And now I have to remember my place in it. I'm not her savior. I can't fix her rug problem nor her marriage problem. I can't. I was supposed to. I do not have shoulders big enough for that. But I do have the job of pointing her to the person who does. And so that to me is so exciting. That kind of go into the marginalized are the people who are too scared to speak up. And you know what? They may not be in the real margins of the sanctuary, although I think your trick is really good. I love just walking around because frankly, I'm kind of nervous and don't know how to start conversations anyway. So I'm trying to find somebody that'll like make eye contact and I can say, hey, how you doing? That is just now I've busted myself in podcast kingdom. But anyway, they also can be the women that are in the center of things that are just like, I talked to this great woman. And I kind of just thought she was kind of to herself or just quiet.
Introvert.
Introvert extraordinaire. And later, somehow we got connected through a friend or something. And she started telling me. And one of the things she said is, I so did not want to, I could not, if I got real with somebody at Bible study or in my small group, the realness was that I was being emotionally abused and I couldn't go there. And I'm looking at this woman going, you were right there in the middle of us and nobody knew. We just kind of went, introvert. Like, so they're right in the middle. Even they're in the margins, in the middle and at the margin of the sanctuary.
Oh, love it. What a great nudge on us, because if we are truly seeking to make space, a space that can be a safe space, a hospital for weak, wounded, sick and sore kind of people, then we don't need to characterize them by perhaps preconceived notions of what we think people are that are marginalized.
Yeah.
Anybody who's outside of the context of gospel-centered community is marginalized. And so it might be circumstantial. Yeah. It might be, something that's externally, visible. So we know, but more often than not, it is something that's internal. And really, this woman had an internal problem. And when Jesus puts his finger on her heart, he draws us into what's really at the bottom of her spiritual dehydration. It's a worship problem.
Yes.
A worship problem. I mean, it's not about quenching a thirst here that can be drawn up with a bucket, Yes. He's like, where's your bucket? He's like, no, I have another way to quench your thirst, and it's going to blow your ever loving mind.
That's right.
But and the idea, of course, with worship is, what do we hold up as worthy? That shapes everything about us. And so if being right or being perceived as perfect or being, well thought of by the masses, if we hold that up and we're captivated by that, we prize that as being the most worthy thing in our life, that's what we worship. Yeah. And what we worship shapes our decisions, and it shapes our relationships, and it shapes what we look like, what our life looks like. Yeah. We become what we behold. And so I do think that he's saying you have a worship problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny that this story is talking about, like, what are we really talking about here? It's almost like kind of smoke and mirrors. Like, at one point we're talking about water, then we're talking about all of a sudden the Samaritan Jewish fussing over who gets to worship where, and then you're kind of going, what is really going on here, until he comes in and starts getting into her personal life. And then, just like you said, then all the worship comments start making sense. Here's the one to worship. Here's the one with the water that's real water. And Jesus is just brilliant in how he even has interactions.
Yeah. And he's seeking those kind of people. Yes. Not just the woman at the well, you and I, and all the other people that we get to do life with. He is seeking people who will worship him in spirit and truth. And I love the reaction, because the woman who is hiding, she's in the margins, but all of a sudden she leaves the water jar. Okay, she cannot check this off her to-do list. No. What does she do, Susan?
She runs to town, and the most unhidden thing ever, and says, he told me all the gossip is true and knew it, and you're just going, what? Like, are you okay? And there is something that is I don't even see it until I see her reaction. I don't even see what happened until I see her feet running and her voice saying, you've got to meet this guy. Is this the Messiah? She is convinced and shows it by what she's doing. And what she's doing is being hospitable to other people who are thirsty.
That's right. And that is the invitation of the welcome of the gospel. Come and see.
Yeah.
Come and see.
Yeah.
And not come and see my house, not come and see my perfect meal, not come and see, how my life is perfectly curated.
Yes.
Come and see the Christ.
Yeah.
And that's what we get to do when we make space in our life for other people. We can say, come and see.
Yeah.
Come and see me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. And in the other gospel narratives, it also says, come and see, go and tell. And I love that there's an instantaneous obedience in what she does. In fact, there's a zeal of the gospel. And so I love how hospitality and evangelism go together.
Yes.
I mean, there are so many ways that we can make space for people who are outside of Christ, who are marginalized because they're outside of a family. They want to be adopted into a family. So they're sitting on the outside looking in. Yeah. And what you reminded us of, I don't know. I mean, a lot of our lives, there's these unwritten manuals of how you have to enter in. And you're like, who wrote that? And where do I get the book? But maybe we should just toss the book. And how do we remove the barriers so that people can come and see? What do you think?
Oh, well. Oh, yeah. We've been talking about, and the luncheon on Sunday that we had to have our own sacrilege miracle, that a lot of people come to church and say you've got a great, healthy church. And like our church, like worship, you can taste that gospel community. You come, it's just like from the music to how well the liturgy is to just, there's this welcoming vibe. And the last thing our pastor says after he does the benediction is go and meet somebody you don't know. So it's constantly go, go, go. And so people come to church are like, yes, this is what I want to be a part of. I want to be in this family. And they see it and they go toward it and they realize there's a glass wall. And nobody is quite advertising, how do I get past the glass? Where are my people? And is there a party going on that no one's invited me to? I just see it through the glass. And so I would say hospitality is how do I get people through the glass? And usually that's an individual making sure that happens. Like we said, look, we will offer Bible studies. We will offer the monthly thing for people who can't do weekly. We'll offer awesome like retreat speakers and a panel and discussion in the fall. Like there are all these back doors that we can put a sign on and says, come in here. Anybody can come in, whether they have a friend or not. But the true back doors, those are for the individuals to do. The young single woman that just knows how another young professional feels moving to a new town, she's going to remember and go toward because she wants them to discover what she's discovered. And how she discovered, somebody did it for her. So that to me is probably happening in a lot of churches, and they see it and want a part of that. They want the water, but nobody quite told them where the water fountain, how you get there. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes total sense. Yeah. And often I'll do an exercise when I go to a church about the blessings and the barriers and the bridges that we build. And when I get to that barrier section, I say some of them are real, some of them are received.
Yep.
And I always ask this question. If you've been at this church for less than 3 years, you get to go first. Because the new people are the ones who know where the barriers are.
That's exactly right.
Because they've had to overcome them.
Yes.
If you've been comfortable for a long time, you've forgotten where they are.
That's right.
And you don't see them.
That's
and
right.
Most of the time they seem invisible, but they are real, even if, and as somebody perceives them. And the question is, how do they navigate it? And what I invite them to do is be a doorkeeper in the house of the Lord.
I love
How do we open the door to the hospital?
Yes.
So that all kinds of people can come in. And, as the psalmist says, better is one day than in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. Better to be a doorkeeper in the house of the Lord.
Yeah.
We need to be doorkeepers.
Yeah.
That we're opening the door. We're standing there and we're saying, come and see. And as we do that, we have to have spiritual eyesight. We have to have the eyes of Christ to be able to see those things. And so let's get into some practical ideas here, and let's just kind of focus around beverages, so to speak.
Oh dear, that's dangerous territory.
It might be a little dangerous, but I'm willing to go there. In other words, the reason why I'm starting here is because, we were talking last week about kind of meals, but everybody needs to drink something, right? Yeah. I mean, they need to have something to drink. So the question is, what would it look like for us to just focus some of the hospitality, making space, a safe space, a hospital space for hospitality around beverages? Like, for instance, how hard is it for you to pour a glass of iced tea and invite somebody to come sit on your porch? Yeah. That's hospitality.
Yeah.
What are other ideas?
Oh, well, if you have children, all you have to have are those little, I don't know what the fad is now. I guess now everybody has those little Yeti mini super, little straw things. But whatever, back in my olden days, you just have some Kool-Aid or Nutra something, the
Capri Suns.
Capri Suns, that's it. Okay. That's it. Those are the ones that would spill real easily when they squeezed them in my car. Ugh. But I'll tell you another thing. There's nothing like the word, hey, do you want to come over for coffee?
Yeah.
Coffee or meet for coffee. It's like coffee may be a fancy coffee or may just be my coffee, but it says this is not a huge meal commitment. It's just a visit. It's a segue. It's the baby step into this hospitality, because I think we as I hate to say this, but the insiders, the people who have been in the church for a while, who have forgotten the barriers, we also have forgotten how scary it is to be the new person. And they're also trying to figure out, if I jump in too much, will they think I'm overbearing or crazy? Or maybe I'm not sure yet if this is safe community, because my last church was really bad for me and I'm barely here. Now, stay with me. I'm going to be very vulnerable. I go to Jazzercise. I love Jazzercise. I have been ashamed of it because that's what old people do in my mind, which is not true. Not true. And I have been obsessed lately as I'm in Jazzercise with how it compares to the church and how I had to have the nerve. I had to be thirsty enough. I had to be desperate enough, because I saw them dancing next to this laundromat I had to use when I was renovating the house. And I finally was like, I want to join them so bad, because I used to dance in my old hometown, but it wasn't Jazzercise. It's kind of a cooler version of that. It was more Zumba or something like that. So anyway, long story short, if you ever want to talk about it, just call me. But I finally got the nerve to say, how can I join this fun, this community? And they said, first of all, I interrupted a class and didn't know that was a faux pas, but they were kind and they said, look on the website, or maybe we're having a special or something. So I do it. I get the schedule and I show up, and then I show up again and I start doing it. Now, was it like my old dance exercise class? No, I kind of made me miss it. Like, this isn't the same. They're not doing the songs I like, or it was the same song I used to dance to, but the notions were a little bit more like, oh, this is not very challenging. And then I started going, is this even the right place for me? And I'm just kind of sneaking in and sneaking out. I'm sneaking in and sneaking out. And this is what I started to notice. Those instructors, this must be in the franchise materials, they all knew my name. When I'd walk in, they say, hey, Susan. When I left, you could not get out that door without the instructor from the front. Bye, Susan. See you next time. I was like, it was noticeable. And they did it with everybody. Then, after going and pushing, making myself go because I didn't know what else to do, and I'd already kind of started paying money, I started becoming part of the community. I started branching out and talking to the other women. At first, all these other women were just talking. I'd just be standing there by myself, awkward, but I didn't really I wasn't sure I needed more community in my life. I just needed to dance. Well, it has turned into, after years, probably 1 or 2 years, all of a sudden, I started talking to other people too. all of a sudden they started missing me if I missed a week and said, where were you? They all know my spot, which is in the front center. And there's like a pew in church. These cute TCU girls came last week and they were in my spot. And it was like the whole room knew it. And I was like trying to wiggle in to kind of where I like to be without smushing them. Then I started acting like I wasn't an instructor, but I caught that culture of making them feel welcome, showing them, hey, I said, hey, the other weights are over there. Because they were probably like, these are wimpy weights, where are the heavy weights? And it just showed me that they set a great table and they were really intentional. So much so that I felt it. But I just had to keep coming. I just had to show up. I had to keep on, even when it felt awkward for me. I just had to keep showing up, and that routine turned into community for me. So now, yes, I go because endorphins are my favorite drug. But now I'm like, oh, that's my favorite teacher. And oh, but Betty might miss me if I'm not there. It becomes like my people. And so I think church is like that. You gotta, if you're new, you just gotta get in the routine long enough to where it's not awkward. And you start finding your people. But we've got to be ready to be their people. That's my jazzercise metaphor. I had to spill it because it's been on my heart while I dance so much.
I love it. You're a jazzercise woman. You're in.
I'm in.
Those are your people. And you look through the glass window, back to your illustration. Yes. You did have to take a step of faith inside. But wow, if jazzercise can have that kind of a contagion of belonging, how can that instruct us in the church? Yeah. I mean, the life-giving, any kind of culture is contagious, life-taking or life-giving.
Yeah.
But what you're telling me is the jazzercise culture, because they made space for you in the front, apparently, and you had to make space for the new people who sat in your space.
Yep.
That was contagious, and that you became not just an observer, but an owner into the idea of what was going on. And I think we move in churches from the back row to the front, the middle of the front row, metaphorically speaking, even if you sit in the back row, where you're like, you look around, you're like, these are my people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
For better or worse. Yeah. These are my people.
And I'll tell you another thing about jazzercise while we're on it.
Yeah.
All sorts of ages and stages, like intergenerational and different capacities for exercise.
Oh,
and different types. Like I know, like I haven't told them I work for a church yet because I don't want them to box me into their preconceptions of what a church staff member is like. Because I know one instructor, probably would see me differently, and I love her and I want to still have a relationship with her. So I'm just saying, a Samaritan woman could show up in jazzercise. Could she show up in church?
Wow. Yeah. And that's making space for all kinds of not only access points, but also in the context of the church of, different faith backgrounds, where somebody is in their spiritual journey, and looking for those people, being a doorkeeper, opening the door, making space, that we can listen and let people, the Lord has us on a journey of sanctification that's on his timing. And so we get to participate, but everybody else is on that journey as well around us. And so we get a chance to see what that is. So whether you're dancing for the Lord, like Susan,
not really cheesing myself out,
or you're like this Samaritan woman this week who's thirsty, little spiritually dehydrated, looking for just the living water, the true living water that will satisfy. If the gospel has changed you like it changed her, you want to throw a gospel party and you want to invite other people, come and see the Christ. And that's where we're going next week. So we're hoping you're going to come back. The welcome of the gospel, how Jesus extends the best of the best kind of hospitality. So we hope you'll come back next Tuesday on the Encourage podcast. Hopefully this week, the Lord will encourage you to make space, a hospital space where you extend the hospitality of the gospel to weak, weary, sick and sore, wounded people just like you and me. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Encourage podcast, where we have one aim, to bring the hope of the gospel to the hearts of women. We invite you to share this episode with a friend and keep the conversation going. And would you also consider giving to CDM to make this podcast available to women all over the world? The Encourage podcast is a production of CDM, the discipleship ministry of the PCA.